City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Ferguson, Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Hensel,
Yes.
Commissioner Marshall,
Here.
Commissioner McGee, City Manager Mitchell,
Here.
Mayor Mohammed,
Present.
Commissioner Yarborough, Chairman Reed.
Present.
You have a quorum.
This time, I'd like the director to bring attention to agenda item 3, which is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion to approve by the mayor and supported by the city clerk. City manager. Forgive me, it's been a rough day. Rough day. Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner McGee, Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Yarborough, Commissioner Hensel,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed,
Yes.
Commissioner Marshall,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson, Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next agenda item is the meeting minutes of the November 1st meeting. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, or deletions? Hearing none,
I'm gonna make a motion
motion,
to accept the minutes.
Commissioner Hensel made a motion to accept and supported by city manager. Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Hensel,
Yes.
Mayor Mohammed,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Marshall,
Yes.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
At this time, we'd like to open the meeting up for public comment. Is there anything in general that you'd like to speak about? Hearing none, I will close the public comment section. We will go to agenda item number 6, which is new business. At this time, I'd like to open up for a public hearing for the zoning ordinance amendment to modify which sites they use the planned development option. I've asked our consultant, Mr. Paul Lippens, to come and give us a slight presentation, or should I say a brief presentation.
Thank you, Chair. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to discuss amendments to the city's plan development criteria in the zoning ordinance. The plan development option is a tool in the zoning ordinance that permits sites to redevelop utilizing their own specially designed design criteria, as well as permissive of multiple different types of uses. So this is often thought of as a tool to create new mixed-use developments, developments that frequently incorporate residential uses as well as commercial uses on a single site, and develop in a manner that's more similar to how downtown Benton Harbor is developed. Buildings in close proximity to each other, designed at walkable scales to encourage people to access, live, and do business and conduct business in in the same location on a site. So there were there are two provisions in the existing Benton Harbor zoning ordinance that substantially limit the places in which this tool can be utilized in the city. One is that the use of this tool was limited only to the central business district. And the second one is that it was limited only to parcels that are in excess of 5 acres. And there are very few parcels in the city that are 5 acres or larger. So it really limits the number of parcels that could use this tool. So we've prepared a recommendation for text amendments to modify the plan development requirements so that, and our recommendation, which we can discuss tonight, and you're here tonight to also receive comments from members of the public, but we've proposed that the limitation to site size be changed from sites in excess of 5 acres to sites that have a minimum of 1.5 acres, so 1.5 acres. We've also proposed a modification. So while all development in the CB district is eligible for this tool, we've also proposed another standard that says sites located in the local commercial district and mixed-use districts may petition the city for planned development rezoning. And the intent in this is that there would be some additional scrutiny to how the tool was used in those districts, but that would be involved in the Planning Commission and City Commission review of planned developments. So we intentionally made it distinct from the permissive requirements for the CB. Basically, all sites in the CB district are eligible. We've determined that in the other districts, they should be eligible to petition for the use of the standard. So those are, I think that with those two changes, it would be more consistent with the city's master plan, which does envision many areas of the city incorporating mixed-use development. And it's also worth noting, too, that we have been conducting public engagement as part of the current master plan effort. And the creation of more neighborhood nodes and the creation of more housing types and opportunities to create housing is something that we've heard extensively throughout this process as well. So we do believe that this change is consistent with what we've heard from the city over the course of the last year as well. And that provides context, certainly also for members of the public who might be here tonight to also participate in the public hearing. And I can certainly take questions when you get to the member discussion point. Oh, actually, you're going to do that before public comment, according to the agenda. So I can stay here for discussion now.
Yeah, discussion.
You're changing it from 5 to a minimum of 1.5.
That's the recommendation, yes.
What if I came in and went by the whole thing? How would you do that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
What if I came in to buy the whole parcel? How would you do that?
Well, it would limit for people purchasing parcels that were less than 1.5 acres. Under this revision, they wouldn't be eligible to use a PD option. But it would make it so that anyone, even in a combination of parcels, if you had an area that was 2 parcels and greater than 1.5 acres, you would be eligible to use this if the parcels were contiguous. And I do think we could also discuss whether 1.5 acres is the appropriate change. And I certainly would be interested in opinions from staff and planning commission on that as well.
Can we get somebody to do the math on that?
Which
How
math?
1.5 acres look like with our lots being 58 feet wide. How many lots is that? Right? Just somebody know how to do the math.
Yep.
Right?
2?
Well, if it's, roughly, so an acre is 43,000 square feet, roughly 43,560 square feet. If your frontage is 158 feet, I'm looking for my calculator here. So say you had 3 lots at 58 feet and do 43,560 divided by, say, roughly 150. That's 3 lots. You would have a depth of 290 feet. So, and it's another way to think about it is in block sizes. City blocks tend to range between 150 feet on one side and 300 feet. So this is an acre. An acre is to 1.5 acres is roughly 1 city block.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead. You finished? The planned unit would be the entire acreage, and the lot sizes would depend upon what type of development is being presented. There's quite a bit of literature about planned unit developments and how they're set up. But the whole purpose of the planned unit is that you have a complete community within the unit that's self-sustaining. In other words, you'd have residents, you'd have places where they could shop, and some of the essential services all within this planned unit. The type of housing that goes into it would be part of the plans. So you would not necessarily be using the same single-family residence type of setups that you see throughout the city. The intent of this is to increase the tax base per acre and to increase density, especially in the downtown commercial districts.
I agree.
Okay. Yes.
Someone else? I have a question about petitions. What, when you talk about, commercial, the local commercial districts, that people mentioned that people can apply to petition or petition the city to get permission to create a PUD. How do you envision that process?
It would follow the same procedures for plan development approval that are currently in the ordinance. I think the only distinction that we're making with the use of may petition as a separate standard is that it would allow planning commission to consider those applications with more scrutiny, and with the idea essentially that what my read of the phrase all development in the CB district means that really this is an appropriate tool really for any site in the CB district. And I actually would probably agree with that. I'm not sure the same of the CL and MU district. So the intent is that there would be a little more scrutiny applied to development in those districts.
Is there standards or whatever that go along with that?
It would be this, you would have to base the decision on the same standards for PD approval.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So what would be as an example, an ideal development that would benefit from this ordinance change?
Project T is one. I'm trying to think of the area that has enough acreage where you could actually do this. I'm not sure the area or how many city lots are up in the Bellevue area on the bluff there. But I know down in the Flats area that we were talking about, those would be ideal areas for commercial.
Point of order, you can't be on the phone.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. The idea is that the utilization of residential and commercial and everything else that you need within one compact area. And we were looking mostly at 2, 3, 4-story buildings as opposed to single-family residence, which would cause spread. The benefit would be if we have contiguous city lots that could be used in a neighborhood node, for example. Broadway and Empire Corridor was one of the areas that they had talked about years ago, converting to PUD. So that's the type of
Could you explain PUD?
planned unit development. It's development for the whole unit. The total acreage is one, actually community all by itself. But it can be utilized for the benefit of anybody who lives in the city. But it's
So
private.
what's the target here?
At this time, I believe the only area that we have that we're actually using it would be the MHT and the Project T.
In the Whirlpool development?
Okay, they don't have the commercial part of that. They did plan it at first, but they haven't developed it. Right now, those are parking lots. That's what they have. right across from the dollar store. All of that was supposed to be commercial for the benefit of the employees. And at that time, I imagine residents that they were going to build within the area on their properties. It would be along Riverview Drive. I think they still own quite a bit of that property that they haven't developed yet.
And this zoning change would,
Allow a smaller area to be eligible for a planned unit development.
thank you.
Chair. Oh,
I just wanted to comment that our current ordinance has a minimum of 5.8 acres. And the only situation we have that is up for using it currently is Project T. Ultimately, it could, at that size, also be used in concert with part of the Ox Creek development over time. But I think we do need to decrease the size where we can do some other things. It's just a question of whether 1.5 acres or 3 acres or what's the right size for it. And, yes, that sort of remains to be seen. The main difference is it allows you to put where right now, in a typical block, it's going to either be zoned residential or it's going to be zoned, I mean, can't put anything else in but that. Where with a PUD, you can zone and put a mixture of uses that are complementary to each other within this particular small area. And I think that's going to be beneficial to the city to be able to have that flexibility.
Commissioner.
I just wanted to say, as we have a PUD that we put in place for Harbor Shores.
I think so.
So that was a planned unit development, and I don't know if you remember, we were on the planning commission together back then. And, after they decided they were moving some of the elements within the project to accommodate the bridge, they had to move the bridge and the roadway and the trail system. So that whole planned unit came back to us for review and then an amendment that the city commission then approved. So it gives us the opportunity to review these projects to make sure that they align with whatever we say as a community. And they're not separate communities, but they allow for common amenities like the trail system and all that. You trade off various density for green space or for the trail system, and the developer puts all of that in when they build whatever it is, and they have to put that in writing with their plans, and it has to come before the planning commission and the city commission. So there's more specific control, and it's actually an agreement with the developer, and it could be any developer, a local person, and so that's the value of a PUD in our city.
Yes.
and Commissioner Hensel, that's one of the responses that I was going to provide to the mayor's question. So planned unit development is kind of a general term. In the city of Benton Harbor, it's called planned development. And it's really a floating, I would describe sometimes as a floating zone. So it can go and be utilized anywhere in the districts where it's permitted. And right now, it's only permitted in the central business district. So this amendment would also permit you to use that tool, that floating development tool, in the local commercial district and the mixed use district. And related to the comments also that Commissioner Hensel said too, it's as kind of as part of utilizing this tool, developers get to kind of propose building heights or setbacks or even materials or design improvements or public spaces that are specific to that site. And then the plan of record, when you approve the plan of record, it actually becomes attached to that zoning. So each plan development is different from each other, right? Each plan development really is designed like, it's almost like a custom design just for that site. And as long as it aligns with, the purpose of the master plan and the other citywide development policies and the standards for approval, it allows the city to approve those sites at those developments at those specific locations.
We have yet to get into the zoning and the ordinances So what impact of us moving forward with this, at this time, would that have on what we're planning to do?
It's my opinion that this is a recommendation that would be, it is consistent with your current master plan, and it will be consistent with the recommendations as we draft them. I would say these types of amendments, I've done these in many cities. It was far more common to have, limited 5 or 10 parcels for this tool than it is now. And particularly in the city of Benton Harbor, with the overall land area here and the size of the development parcels, I think reducing to some level, as Mr. Little pointed out, you could go with 3 acres if you want to take kind of a slower approach. Obviously, 1.5 acres would open up more of the city to this type of development. So I would say if you want to recommend instead of 1.5 acres, 3 acres, that could be, a move to open up more sites to the development of this type. I certainly, because comparable, like 1.5 acres it's a small city block. I think that is an appropriate size, which is why we recommended it. And I'm also fairly confident about the idea of including this in the CL local commercial district as well as the MU mixed use district. But there's another decision there too. If you wanted to start by, say, just the mixed use district or just the CL, you could modify that recommendation as well.
Question about, in the current zoning ordinance, it does specifically mention some of the things that, would benefit the community if a plan unit is granted. But one of the goals I would hope that the planning commission might do is to try to ensure that access to these areas, is integrated into the existing city grid and transportation structure, and that we're encouraging development that's open as part of any other neighborhood, rather than building up gated communities as islands in our neighborhoods. I don't know how we write that into here because I don't really see it there.
This is directed to, okay.
I do think that the planning commission will have, as part of its review and approval authority, the ability to limit or stop the gated community kind of concern. And given that Benton Harbor only has 4.3 square miles, I think it's advantageous for us to have a smaller one. I initially was leaning more toward 3, but I think 4.5 acres may give us even better flexibility, because if someone wants to do one larger, they can.
So basically, this is the minimum size.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other comments before we open it up for the public part? Yes.
I want to address the may petition the city. That's kind of weak, and I think it should be shall or must. So it allows any elected official or person to come in after we leave to know that we wanted the planning commission to definitely be involved in that process. May just says you may or you may not.
If a planning opinion would be helpful, I think the term must there, must petition could be seen as an improvement.
Okay. And Chair, I understood mixed use, but this other PUD, I need to really get a good understanding of, because that's the first time I heard of it. So forgive me for not being able to move forward on this until I do some vetting.
Yes.
So this, the city clerk inform you that this item is kind of double eagle head, where either we vote here or we vote as city commissioners. So I'm going to exercise my vote on the council, but I do think that, well, I won't try to influence.
You guys whispering now, I can hear you.
I said I'm going to exercise my vote on the city council.
Is this part, will this hold up the Project T project if we don't make a decision today?
I think it could have a negative impact on what they're trying to do. We had indicated to them that we would be agreeable to facilitating the PUD for that site. And that's permissible under the present ordinance, but I'm not sure they're in the right current zoning for it.
That is correct. The specific site in question is not within the central business district.
So we really need to do it in order to keep the commitment to accommodate what they want to try and do there. In simplest form, what it does is allows you to put a mixture. Right now, most of the cities either set up in single family or light industrial or heavy industrial. There's some small mixed use areas, but this gives a flexibility where you can put single family homes next to a 3-story, next to a commercial space, whatever, and if necessary, open green space, a park, whatever combination that the developer and the city agree on is optimum for a particular area you're looking at. And that's exactly what they're trying to do on that site there. That also, I think, is what holds a greater potential for the city as a whole when we go to allowing it even for smaller sites, because your potential to get a much higher tax base on a smaller portion is there with the PUD than what you have with a single family or a designated area that's limited to just one use.
So we could approve this for Project T, but have a conditional approval for any other projects.
You have, as it's being presented, you'd have conditional approval for any project coming to use it anyway, because nobody can just come walk in and say, PD, and you got to accept it. No, they got to bring back the specific plan, the site plan, and what they're going to do, and you have to approve it before they can go forward.
Commissioner, are you finished?
Yes.
Commissioner,
It seems like with the option of having more time between this meeting and the city commission meeting, there's an opportunity for other questions to be answered before it comes up for a vote and adoption. So would it be possible to adopt this resolution with the change in word that was suggested? Because I can agree with that. I don't think that should negatively, didn't feel negatively swayed one way or the other, but having heard the word, I think it makes sense to change made a must and pass it as is. And then the city commission will have its opportunity to debate, discuss, and research in between times, and can decide if they really want to go ahead with the ordinance or not, or ask for a change in the city commission.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I would just say to this debate that inconsistent with the charter, I think the term shall would probably be a little less brass knuckle than must.
More legal.
Or legal.
with that.
Just a suggestion, I know in the charter is shall, must, maybe Chicago language. Not just a little will.
With that, that direction you would go in.
Well, because I'm so new to this, I'm just gonna leave my vote to where I have time to do some research.
Okay,
So I'm
we
not
have
gonna-
lost a
I
quorum.
can't even debate it. Is that right, clerk?
I don't think we lose the quorum.
No, you don't lose more.
So we don't lose the
You,
quorum.
you
if
just
they
still
don't?
have to have the right amount of affirmative votes. Is what you have for.
I cannot,
So,
I
no, you'd
cannot
be fine.
debate, Madam Clerk.
Sorry,
I cannot debate as well, right?
during the commission meeting?
No, during this meeting.
Yes, you can,
I
you
can't.
can.
But you can't.
Okay.
But you,
Wanna
But
get
you
it straight, thank you.
I mean,
she's, yeah,
you'll have to
she's,
choose which. Okay,
exactly.
Gotcha. In our zoning, ordinance, page 6-7 explains what plan development reviews are, and it goes into quite a bit of detail. So where we're at right now is we're looking at, public comment. You want to do public comment before we attempt to go any further with this? Or they have all questions?
Can I make one comment?
Yes.
And that is because, and I'm not sure everybody understands that it is already in our ordinance. If you
Yeah.
review that section, you get a pretty good handle on what it's about. And all we're talking about doing here is increasing the ability and flexibility for using it. Because like I said, you don't have many 5.8 acre sites in the city that you can get to. And it just is a limiting factor.
And this opens our downtown up for additional development,
Exactly.
so.
And a greater tax base per area than what you might get as it's currently.
It might also be more desirable for developers to come in if they know that they can develop an entire area as opposed to building speculative housing as they do in single-family plots. If there's no more of the members to discuss, I'd like to open this up to the public. Okay, at this time, we're going to open it up for public comments. Mr. Duncan?
I really just wanted to know where this area T you guys were talking about, where is it in the
The Old
city?
Mercy site,
The Old Mercy site.
yes.
Thank you.
Comments? We gave proper notice. Okay. If there are no more public comments, then I'll close that portion of this meeting and I'll put it to the commissioners. Do you want to go forward with the language change first? And instead of saying mixed, that's would be in section 6.4.2 applicability, and that would be in E, sites located in the CL, commercial light or local commercial or MU mixed-use zoning districts shall petition the city for planned development rezone. I think that language fits it. We need to call a vote on the.
So you do, but before you do that, because this is voting on a zoning ordinance, you do have to have a majority vote of your bodies. You do have to have 5 affirmative.
That's what I want. Okay.
So I'll vote in this.
Okay, are we all in agreement on the language, that should be changed to shall instead of may?
Make a motion.
Yes, make the motion.
I move that we adopt this resolution and refer it to the city commission as written, with the exception that we will change in letter E, the word may to shall.
Support.
Motion is made by Commissioner Hensel, supported by Commissioner Marshall. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Henry,
Abstain.
we're going to save your vote for the commission.
Abstain for, I hold my vote for resignation.
Commissioner Ferguson, Commissioner Yarbrough, Mayor Mohammed,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee, Commissioner Hensel,
Yes.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Marshall,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we will close the public hearing and move on to agenda item 6B. That's a public hearing for the zoning map amendment to rezone the block bounded by Wall Street, Colfax, 8th Street, and Oak Street from light industrial to mixed use. I'd like to open up the public hearing at this time for this hearing. Mr. Lippens, do you want to open up with that presentation?
Yes, this is not a text amendment. This is a map amendment. So this is a petition to rezone specific sites from one zoning classification to another zoning classification. In this case, this area is actually, I think, split between two zoning districts, industrial and one of them is actually half in CB. And the rezoning would put both the one block that is in a mixed zoning into one mixed use or MU district. There is also a catty corner site that we've included recommending essentially to the southwest of the corner of Oak and 8th Street. As well, a block down there, which is currently entirely industrial, we've recommended to be also included in this rezoning to mixed use. You'll find a fairly detailed review letter drafted by my firm, myself and my colleagues. We found that this rezoning is consistent with the current master plan of the city, which envisions this area as being a mixed-use area. We have also reviewed the site for physical compatibility with the existing uses to the north, east, south, and west. And we've determined that based on the existing zoning ordinance, mixed use, we believe, is the most appropriate district for rezoning at this time. We did note that since we are currently conducting a master plan process, it is possible that with zoning amendments, another district may be more appropriate a year from now. For instance, we may decide to make changes to the central business district, in which case this area may more appropriately be designated as a central business district. But at this time, I think one of the uses that mixed use permits is residential redevelopment. And we think that that is certainly appropriate and consistent with the city's master plan for rezoning of this site. So we are recommending that these sites be rezoned from general commercial to mixed use. We also, it's worth noting that there are many parcels in this area that are currently zoned industrial. And for the purpose of the public notice, we did notice more parcels to permit both planning commission and city commission to have some discussion about the district. But we are recommending only a smaller portion of the sites be rezoned. And they are the areas in yellow on the first page of our memorandum and the parcel numbers noted in our letter.
Are there any additional comments?
I'm able to take questions, but I think I've covered the case.
Commissioner Henry?
I just wanna ask, why now? We did go through a process, but why this area now?
This,
When you go to inner city, ask for certain things, and I don't see any changes there. Why this area? What project, what entity is pushing us? So why now? Thank you.
areas. Now, because the city is making the request. When we began the discussions with MHT about the site over here that we refer to as corner of Wall Street, at that time, we knew that that site was split in half. One part was, I believe, light industrial, and one part was commercial business. And what that does, because this is a project that will involve 55 units of permanent supported housing, plan for a grocery store, plan for other commercial space, some recreational space and whatnot. And if they were to proceed with the current zoning, they've got to be concerned about making sure that the layout of a particular building doesn't go 2 inches over into the other zoning or that kind of thing. And it just creates too many issues. When we began discussing that with them, we indicated to them that we would be willing to zone that to mixed use.
There's also my understanding that when you bring in commercial, you can also bring in residential. So you bring in customers for the commercial businesses that are located downtown. And it would open up for workforce housing, for example. But at the same time, you can have laundromats, restaurants, businesses that the workers could take advantage of without having to leave the city. So this gives you a little bit more of to work with, for more opportunities for increasing your density in your downtown districts. Yes.
I think one of the interesting things about this opportunity is that it's also tied to what we just did in terms of changing the ordinance to allow for PUDs in the commercial local districts, which then provides the people who own the land in that area more of a tool to develop with. At the same time, we're trying to level this out downtown. So there's benefits to both with the first thing that we just discussed. And then with this change in zoning on the light industrial downtown, it allows developers who may want to develop those additional parcels to take advantage of the change in the PUD. So it will benefit everyone to some degree to have this in place. And it will make the development more consistent with the adjacent development downtown.
And with the increase in middle housing, you're gonna get your density increase, but at the same time, this allows for commercial development also in those areas.
Okay, that in the yellow is a fairly large area. And I can't, the map is so tiny, I can't recognize what is included in that section.
This is a little bigger.
I see a lot of,
What page number are you looking at? What page,
I'm sorry,
what page number are you looking at?
I'm looking at number 3 and the little highlight of the area Then I look at number 4 and I'm seeing, but I can't distinguish because the map's so tiny.
I don't think this is any better than.
The area in yellow on page 3 is just a general, that yellow is just showing generally which area of the city we're looking at. It's not, it doesn't show which area is being proposed for rezoning. So that's just showing generally the area of the city that you're looking at.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that on,
So the page 4 is actually the,
correct. Page 4 in blue shows 2 different maps where the subject site of the rezoning is located. So those 2 inset maps roughly correlate to the yellow on the page prior. They show that area of the city you're looking at. And the area that we've recommended within this be proposed for rezoning is that block between Wall Street, Oak, Colfax, and 8th. And then the block immediately catty corner or kitty corner, depending on how you like to say that, to the southwest between Oak Street, 8th Street, 9th Street, and I believe it's both. Although I don't know if I pronounced that correctly.
is these 2 lots part of the project down there? Completely?
Only one of them, yes. The other one is that area, the one that comes down Market Street, is currently owned by the cities.
Okay. Market.
Yes, comes down to Market, Colfax, 8, and I believe Ogden.
Okay. All right.
I might add, just for point of information, these zoning changes also enhance the financeability of projects. When the financial, whoever's considering financing the project looks at the zoning, they are looking at it in terms of what you're looking to do right now, but if you want to make changes later, you can.
So what is your recommendation?
My recommendation would be to approve.
Do you have any additional members to discuss? Hearing none, I'll open up now the public comment session for the public hearing. Yes, sir.
Why only these 2 specific?
Would you identify
I
yourself?
apologize. My name is Trevor Carlson. I'm the property director of Prairie Real Estate Group. Why only these 2 sections? Again, to her point, is there a specific plan in place for these 2 sections already?
For one of the 2 already.
For one of the 2 already? And why not drag that, besides those 2 sections, why not drag that down to, let's say, 12th Street? Because right now, as far as placemaking going in the future of the city, I feel like it's going to be changed regardless. That way, once you start spreading the city, it's going to spread down that way regardless.
I can answer that if you're finished.
Sure.
We're in the process of doing a master plan.
Yes.
However, this particular project is on hold because of the zoning. So in order to expedite this in time for them to get the grants, the money to develop, we decided to move this up and deal with this right now. Whereas the master planning process will take place over the next several months.
Sure.
And then that's when you will most likely be involved once again on the draft of whatever the changes are we're gonna make.
Okay. So if there was any plans that wanted to be done in the near future, we'd have to wait until that master plan is in place?
This one is in front of us now. That's why we're pushing it out ahead of it. But this is also the reason we have our consultant here.
Sure.
Because we want to know what direction we're moving in. Is this the direction that you all are leading in? And if so, how would this have the impact which you're having? And this is also the other reason why we're having public comments now. We
Sure.
want to hear from you.
it's my recommendation in the future that that entire Main Street would be mixed use. That's just my recommendation.
Thank you, sir. And you thought earlier I'd heard something about an issue with trying to get notices to all of the property owners and get feedback from all the stakeholders in that whole area outside of those two sections. And that was a time crunch right now. But as I understand it, if you had something going, you could certainly petition us to change it.
Questions? Mr. Duncan?
I have a question. Why, you guys have all of this going on downtown and nothing going on in the rest of the city other than a hope for later on? And we're at the end of the year and nothing's been done in the inner city. But everything that comes this way or comes through here, period, is all about downtown. And I just don't understand why it's like that and why we continue to keep it like that. I've been in this town since 1952, and I've seen nothing actually done for the inner city. Things that were done for the inner city were done by the citizens because the citizens came out and voted for things to happen. And that's when things started happening. And as soon as money came into town, everybody jumped on the bandwagon and became our friends again. And still nothing's being done for the inner city, other than the plans you're making with session 11 or wherever it was. That's futuristic. But you guys are, I think it's not working for the citizens. Whatever is going on is working for any and every entity other than the citizens of Benton Harbor. And I would like, and this is just my wish, that you guys concern yourself with the citizens a lot more than what I've seen in most of the meetings, not just this meeting. I do attend, try to get to these meetings. And that's all I really have to, it's just a question that just keeps going on in my head. Why is it like this? And if you guys can't do anything about it, maybe, they say a change is gonna come. We've been singing that song a long time. So I want the change to happen for the citizens where we can feel a whole lot more a part of what's going on than what is actually going on.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Mr. Little?
I'd like to respond. I hear what Mr. Duncan is saying, but I believe we're being a little short-sighted in terms of recognizing what all is occurring. When I think in terms of the central city, as I believe you're referring to it, in my mind, that's everything above the bluff going back to the city limits, both that way and south. And we're talking about a 5.8 acre, 33 million plus project in the heart of the city at the old Mercy site. That's right in the heart of the city. We're working on what eventually is going to be a $20+ million project down here with Ox Creek that runs the entire length of the city from downtown all the way out into the township. And that's right through the heart of the city and the residential neighborhoods and so forth. The parks, that's for the residents and in the center part of the city. Last night, you heard discussions at the commission meeting. about monies that are being targeted to go after addressing some of the sewer concerns that people have been coming in talking about. That's in the central part of the city. We just talked about last night, $30 million in replacement water lines all throughout the city. You heard somebody mention about equipment that was purchased, the chipper, the street sweeper, the other equipment. It's for taking care of the city. What we're trying to do, our 4.3 square miles is like a chessboard or checkerboard, and we're looking to enhance, build up, and improve all of the parts of that. The commercial areas, which are right now defined as downtown, some thoughts toward what might be able to happen in some other areas like Empire and so forth. The housing part that has to come up in terms of value, quality, and so forth, that will help to bring in population increase, tax base. So it's a total picture that we're working with. But there's a great deal going on in the residential area of the city. I mean, right now.
Thank you, Mr. Little. This is still for public comments. You gonna make it short?
If I can,
Please do.
I still feel the same way. I still feel that, I mean, we have possibilities. I hear that, and I'm waiting on them, and I'm more in a hurry for them than you are, or any one of you. I just want you guys to keep citizens in the areas
Okay.
where the citizens are a part of it more as well.
I want to move this along. I want to make a quick statement, and we're going to close the public comment. Tax per acre and density. You need more people to be able to pay taxes. The Whirlpool project is an example of that. You got 80 units. You couldn't get as many units as single-family homes. So you can see where you get the tax per acre increase. And the land where they build it just happened to be downtown. Okay, I want to close this now, but I just had to get it out there.
Yes, it happened to be. I got that. Thank you.
Okay,
Oh, shoot.
if we're finished with it, or you know, okay.
I just, as I'm sitting here, I'm glad I came to the meeting, first of all. But as it relates to the ordinance changes proposed, it just says to me that Benton Harbor, from an economic development standpoint, our ordinance is, in charter for that matter, but ordinances we're discussing. It's like that uncle that's coming to the family reunion with 70s and 80s clothes on. Just, we love them. But uncle, so in terms of modernizing, bringing Benton Harbor, because the fact of the matter is the economic development arena is going to be more and more competitive.
Yes.
And if we don't put the necessary zoning ordinances and tools in place, then they'll be looking to the next municipality.
Municipalities all around us are improving, but we're not.
I know that.
And this is the issue that we're confronted with. This is just not a friendly place for certain types of development. And our ordinances reflect, as the mayor has indicated, somewhat outdated. So we're trying to update them. So at this point, if there's no additional public comments, I would like to close this portion. Okay.
I just want to
One
thank you guys
last
for hearing me out. That's all I want to do. Thank you for hearing me out, and I got a good answer, and I thank you.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to close the public comment portion of the meeting, and revert back to the members of the planning commission. But say you, so we approve this.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Support.
Motion is made by the mayor to approve and supported by Commissioner Marshall. To call the roll, please.
Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Henry,
I can hold my vote to the commission.
Commissioner McGee, Commissioner Marshall,
Yes.
Commissioner Ferguson, Mayor Mohammed,
Yes.
Commissioner Yarborough, Commissioner Hensel,
Yes.
Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carried.
I'd like to direct your attention to item 6E, meeting dates. These are the dates that the planning commission will meet for 2023. City clerk, are there any changes or updates?
So if you look to the right of all the dates where the asterisk is, that's the quarterly 5:30 meetings. To the left, down at the bottom, you'll see what denotes a change due to the holiday or election. So July 11th will need to be pushed back due to the 4th of July holiday and the commission meeting. Is it the? Yes. No. Why? Let me know. I went through these dates over and over because I've been trying to get election dates for next year.
Those.
Okay, so it's on the 11th due to July 4th. Because July 4th would be the first Tuesday. September 12th is due to Labor Day being on the 4th, so the commission meeting has to be on the 5th, and that's our quarterly meeting, so we have to push that back a week. And then November 14th is due to Election Day being on the 7th. Now, these pluses here for May, June, and August could potentially change depending on the primary election date, because it's up in the air now, whether there's going to be a May and August election or if they're gonna be combined into one June election.
But we'll just give proper notice.
Yep, so when I get those dates, I'll look at the calendar and let you know if there's any conflicts.
Okay, we'll move on to,
I do have one question.
Yeah.
And the question is, the first meeting date, you said, July the 3rd. January 3rd. The first meeting date is January 3rd.
Correct.
Right after adjournment, it says January the 10th.
My fault, it should say the 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
is that correct, all of the additions? Okay. Absence reports of the members. The only,
Do we need to adopt do we need to approve this? Or is it just agreed to?
this is,
You can if you want to, but I mean, that's your meeting schedule. You meet the first Tuesday of the month unless there's conflicts.
and this is for the benefit of the public.
Yes.
Okay. Agree, we don't need it. Everybody has agreed to it. Commissioner Marshall made his corrections. There's no other corrections, and this will be the copy circulated. Okay, agenda item 7A, monthly absence of the members. The only excused member is Ray McGee. Although he's absent without notification. Next, we have an update by Kashava Craft.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Jeff Kashava, the founder of Kashava Craft. And the update would be that the plumbing is almost done, but the part that was holding up the parking lot has been completed. So the parking lot has now been completed. And meeting another electrician there tomorrow morning because we've had trouble getting somebody to get us on their schedule. But that's kind of the, last major trade work that needs to be done. It's framed and built and parking lot and plumbing. So we're getting much closer.
Okay, so you anticipate opening when?
It's hard to say because we have to still file for a final inspection date, and I can't do that until I have an idea of, for sure when we'll be done. It's my hope that sometime in January we can do, occupancy and inspection and then be able to, commence operations.
Okay, any questions of, you don't? If there's no questions, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to get an update on the master plan, so I invited Mr. Paul Lippens, Kenneth, to come down and give us an update.
All right.
Where do you stand, Paul?
I will keep it fairly brief tonight, but happy to have a discussion. Since the last time we met, since I was here last month, and we had a fairly in-depth conversation on zoning issues, which we really appreciate. We've working on incorporating that into a memorandum, and that is the real update. So we've completed the neighborhood workshops as well as all of the feedback we got during planning week earlier this summer, and we're developing a memorandum. That memorandum will include summary recommendations of goals and actions that are based in everything we heard from city residents. And it will also include a preliminary future land use plan as well as a parks and boulevard system map that kind of came out of our recommendations in June. And of course, the first versions of those maps are already included on the Best Ben Harbor website in the planning, the final recommendation master plan presentation that's included in the planning week presentation. So what we've done is we've worked to kind of incorporate public comment and formulate some preliminary recommendations, which we'll include in a memorandum. Our process would be to review that memorandum with the city manager's office, get input from city staff, and then immediately take that to the city's appointed advisory committee. And once we review that memorandum with the advisory committee, we would essentially put it on the website and then also present it here at Planning Commission. So it's my intent to, I would call that our 50% plan, as everyone knows, kind of the framework for recommendations that we came out from Planning Week with. That was really the 30%, kind of our initial ideas. The 50% plan will be a memorandum. And after we get some consensus around those ideas, we'll formulate that into really a draft plan, which we would call our 70% plan. And we would be vetting that for adoption. Like I said, we hope to review that with the steering committee in January following some time to meet with the city manager's office about it. Related to that update, we did last weekend on December 3rd conclude the Best Ben Harbor Talent Competition with a live streamed event. We were at that time able to announce one winner, a winner in the category of dance. And we are shortly going to announce 3 more winners of that competition. We had to review submissions, and we actually were still accepting submissions up until 7 p.m. on Saturday. We're really excited to have found some artists in the city of Ben Harbor to be awarded a Best Ben Harbor Talent Ambassador, and we look forward to also showcasing some of their artwork either on the master plan website or in the plan deliverables as we create them. And we also will be hoping to invite these artists to the next advisory committee meeting, at least for updates, and also to meet some of the other leaders in the city who have contributed to the process.
Any questions of Mr. Lippens? Okay.
So, since the very conception of, you guys coming in, we always talked about residents and keeping a record of it. My question to you is, will those records be available to the advisory committee anytime soon?
Yes, so it would be consistent with our practice to first review documents with the city manager's office, which is what we're planning to do. And then after we get feedback from the city manager, we will be using this preliminary recommendation memorandum and the draft maps, the first versions of these maps, as the subject matter for our next project advisory committee. And following that advisory committee, it will be my recommendation that we post those documents on the Best Bend Harbor website, talk about them at Planning Commission, and then immediately also start to get feedback and have conversations with the broader community. I think we are all served by having the city manager's office provide some guidance. And also the purpose of the advisory committee is to really have a focus group of people that have been engaged with the entire process to help provide advice on whether or not we've hit the mark on really reporting back what we've heard. So I would think about it like a drafting process. Like my team is working to faithfully produce documents that are consistent with what we've heard in our conversations with residents. And then we want to work with other people who are engaged in the community, experts, people who live in the community, to help us assess on how well we've done in representing those ideas. And the intent is to make some revisions and incorporate those ideas through that process to then get a more thoroughly reviewed and vetted product out for feedback and for really opportunity to comment and make improvements. I've said many times, I really think that this document should include all of the great ideas that we've heard. And I think that even after we issue, the draft memorandum and then develop it into a draft plan, there's still opportunities for us to hear good ideas and to incorporate really, I kind of think about it like coalition building. Like we want people who are interested in making a positive change to have their ideas and values reflected in this plan.
Okay, well, I'm under the opinion that it's a little backwards. Your advisory board has more connection to the residents as well as like the planning commission does. And I think it's a little backwards that you should give the advisory an opportunity to have an input. The city manager always has that final opportunity to be involved in it. So if we keep not giving the citizens the understanding that their input is valued, and like I said, the advisory group was set up to allow residents as well as elected officials that are connected to the people to get involved. So that's just my thought on it.
If I understand, are you suggesting that we bring the draft memorandum straight to the advisory committee and not run it through the city manager's office?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm suggesting that it goes through the advisory and then go to the city manager.
Oh yeah, that's what I
You're saying
thought.
going to the city manager and then the advisory. But the city manager needs to hear what the advisory group is saying, so he'll have a valid opinion or a whatever. He'll have something else to go on other than his expertise, where he's day-to-day operation. So that's just my opinion. I want to make sure that we get every opportunity for residents' input, and so they can see the value of it. And the only way they see the value of their input is if it's there.
The city manager is on the advisory committee.
Yeah, and I think I did understand what you were suggesting. And I would just say, I would think about this more as a quality control review. I don't anticipate many changes happening in that, but it's always good to have a few eyes on something before you distribute it more widely. But I think your comment is completely reasonable, and you've made it. The city managers here, I think we could amend the process if we wanted to. I would probably still recommend that we do have the city manager's office review prior to sending it out to the committee, but that's not my decision. So I think it's a fair comment.
Could we just ask that with all of these reviews that we see the written comments in addition to whatever your original presentation is, so we can all consider what each person or what each official or group is adding to this. I mean, it's simple enough to just, you can provide us with whatever you come up with after you've had a chance to talk with Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell would have an opportunity then to make his comments. We would see them both together and understand maybe something more, because we'll be able to talk about it when we're all together in that advisory committee. And that way we can see the input from the various sources as we move along.
Okay, if there's no more comments, I'd like to move along, please. It's getting a little late here. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Appreciate the update. At this time, are there any commissioners that want to make any comments? Mayor?
Yes, I'd just like to invite everyone out, this coming Tuesday at Bates Lounge. We'll be having a community game night. We'll be playing Benton Harbor now, where City Hall is for sale. Downtown Benton Harbor is for sale. Benton Harbor High School is for sale, along with Gene Clark.
Coach?
So but the discussion topics, and this is all part of the game, I should say. And please, I beg your forgiveness for too much time. Education, economic development, entrepreneurship, business development, master plan, housing, partnerships, collaboration, and more. But we want for it to be a fun, psychological safety where nobody's imposing their idea, well, mine is right, yours is wrong, but just having a lively discussion as it relates to the city.
Very interesting.
That'll be 5:30, pardon me, 5:30, thank you, Mr. Manager. 5:30 p.m. will be the meet and greet. 6:15, the games will begin. We will have a Q&A along with intermissions where we'll have different presenters, 3 to 5 minutes at the very most, just to help guide discussion as it relates to the different topics.
Very good. Interactive town hall. I would like to add that each planning commissioner is required by state law to have 4 hours of training per year. Our bylaws indicate that any commissioner that does not meet the training requirements will not be eligible for reappointment. So I've been using the honor system. However, I'm asking the city clerk to provide me with a list of the training of all of the members. If I find that you have a deficit, I'll notify you and make you aware of what classes that you have access to, and hopefully get you to meet your training requirements. Other than that, I am finished.
Just a question, are we on a calendar year with that? Or are we on the fiscal year with that?
I would go by.
Sorry.
Our calendar year, so we start again in January?
Year, correct.
quite a bit of training where you can take it online within a matter of 4 hours in one sitting, have it all done. So if you need something, I can help you provide to a list of acceptable training. Let me know. Okay. Call the roll to adjourn.
Commissioner Ferguson, Commissioner Henry,
Yes.
Commissioner Hensel,
Yes?
Commissioner Marshall,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee, Manager Mitchell,
Yes.
Mayor Mahmoud,
Yes.
Commissioner Yarbrough, Chairman Reed.
Yes.
Motion carried.